Okay, so now let's get into a discussion here. I showed you the wealth triangle where you have different stages. So here is everyone with $10,000 in net worth. 5 million to 30 million is over here, and then 30 million plus, which is made up of about 34 million people. So this is the wealth pyramid. So now think about it. I'm going to put this line here. When we are born, when you're here, you're going to basically try and figure out how to move up like this. So the first thing that we have to think about is basically the duration of our life. So think about it this way. Here is this line. This is the return that you have to basically make throughout life in order for you to actually be able to get along. So let's just put 8% here. So now think about this. When you're born, you're basically going to do this and you're going to come like that. So let's say this is optimum age. So when you're born up to about, say, 20 years, you'll be in school. So whilst you're in school, you're earning less than the return that you need to basically create capital and build wealth. So here, somebody else is paying for you to enjoy life and study. There will come a time you have to figure out the job that's going to do this for you. And from here, all this is the time that you need to, so let me put this here as your retirement age. Let's put 60 years here. So from about 20 years to 60 years, you need to earn enough money such that when you go into retirement, somebody else is not going to provide for you, but rather you're going to do this and you're going to have enough money to still enjoy the life that you had when you are here. Financial life such that this part here is maximized and you can actually have what I call the financial flexibility that you want in life, such that you can basically enjoy and do the things that you're passionate about and love. So this piece here is what is critical. We are all given a chance to go and study, but once you study and you get a job, if you're not able to figure out this, then what is going to happen is that, and basically, you will always be catered for. So this is where we want to be and build enough capital such that when we retire, we are actually still living the life that we want to live. The challenge, though, is this. When you start working, approximately you have 10 years to set your earnings power for the rest of your life. Meaning that before 10 years, if you do not achieve a certain earning power, that is it. After 10 years, nobody is going to pay you more than basically they believe that you can give them. Here, below 10 years, this is where people are willing to pay you with potential in mind, thinking about what you can do and be willing to pay you more than a return that is basically more compensates for what you're putting in. So if you fail to increase your earning potential, when you start working the first 10 years, it becomes even harder. Now, the question is, if I were to flip your working life on its side and actually go like that, so obviously this here is going to be the maximum point where you are earning quite a lot of money. And I'll tell you, let me share with you my example and how some of these things I figured out before I went into banking. So I started with Exxon, and then I was sent to Houston to basically manage a plant there. One day, there was a guy called Nino Fernal who was retiring. So I got with Nino over lunch, and I asked him, at that time, I was probably making about $120,000 a year. That is how much I was making way back there, $120,000 a year. And I remember getting with Nino Fernal, and I asked him, Nino, I've been with Exxon about 3 years. You're about to retire. You've been with Exxon about 30 years. Could you share something with me? And he asked me what. So this guy has a PhD. And I asked him how much he was making. And he told me he was making $140,000 a year. As soon as I heard that, I was very, very quiet. I walked straight to my boss's office, Alan Chan, and I said, Alan, I just spoke to Nino. He's retiring and he's been at Exxon for 30 years. He's making $140,000. I'm making $120,000. So are you telling me that it's going to take me another 15 years to make $20,000 more? I just told him I'm resigning, and I just gave them my resignation date, and I applied to Sloan School of Management, got accepted to Sloan, and went and basically spent 2 years figuring out what I want to do next. And I came out, my first job, which I got with Deutsche Bank, my starting salary was $340,000 a year. So if you could imagine, if I had stayed with Exxon without really being very concerned about my earning potential, I would have done something like this. It would have peaked here and it would have done this, and done this. But because of the change that I made, because I needed to increase, I was just shocked. I was able to move this thing here and push it much further here. Well, the question is, how did I figure out that in order to get to this point? And this is where basically the whole idea of thinking about what I'll call social organization is very critical. If you move with people who are very financially literate, you will be financially literate. If you move with people who are very disciplined, you will be disciplined. What it is that when we all start our career down here, it's chaos. Your friends doing all kinds of stuff. But what happens is that you just have to figure out the right lane or the right group of people to then begin. So for me, experience at Exxon came when I actually met a guy whose father was actually a managing director at Goldman Sachs. So this guy that I met, Colin, in New York, became a very good friend of mine. His father was at Goldman Sachs, a managing director, and I was an employee at Exxon. That is how I got that passion and love for the markets, because we went to visit him one time over Thanksgiving and I learned a whole lot. I used to basically walk into this man's house and imagine just how he was able to achieve what he had. And he was such a good man that he would sit and basically speak with you about a lot of things.